Ever wondered why learning feels easy for some but difficult for others? Hi, I'm Ranjan Chadha, a writer, author, and someone deeply curious about the human brain and the art of learning. After studying psychology and neuroscience, I began exploring one question: can we make learning easier, smarter, and more enjoyable? These videos, some will be uploaded later, are about my journey to find answers and share my knowledge with you. Studying versus learning, the mistake almost everyone makes. Have you ever spent hours studying for an exam, reading the same chapter again and again, highlighting pages in different colors, taking endless notes? Yet a few weeks later, you can barely remember what you read or studied. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. The reason may be simple. You have been trying to study, you have been studying, but you haven't really been learning. In this video, we are going to explore the difference between studying and learning, where they overlap, why people confuse them, and how understanding this distinction can transform your education forever. Let's start with studying. What is studying? Studying is a deliberate activity, meaning it is something you do intentionally. When you read a textbook, watch a lesson, take notes, memorize formulas, revise for an exam, or complete assignments, you are studying. Studying is a dynamic action oriented activity. It is an effort and it usually has a specific goal. For example, to pass an exam, to finish a course, to complete an assignment, to prepare for a test. In simple words, studying is an act of engaging with information. But there's a problem. The quality of your engagement is crucial. Studying does not automatically generate or guarantee learning. A student can study for 5 hours and learn very little. Another student can study for an hour and learn a great deal. Why? Because studying is an activity, learning is an outcome. What is learning? Learning is different from studying. Learning happens when the information changes you, transforms you. When knowledge becomes understanding, then understanding becomes skill, and then skill becomes your capability. As opposed to studying, learning is not measured by how many pages you read. Learning is measured by what you can remember, explain, apply, and use. Imagine reading a book about riding a bicycle. You can study that book for months and even memorize it, but until you get onto a bicycle and develop the ability to ride, true learning has not fully occurred. Learning creates change. Studying creates an opportunity for change. That is one important distinction. Now, studying and learning are not enemies, they are partners. Both involve information, attention, and effort. Both can happen in classrooms, libraries, online courses, everyday life. In fact, studying is often one of the pathways to learning. Without some form of study, learning can be slower or less structured. Think about studying as planting seeds. Learning is the growth of the plant. You need both. The mistake is assuming that planting seeds automatically means a garden will appear. Why people confuse these two? People confuse these two words because our education system often rewards studying more than learning. Students are praised for hours spent studying, number of pages completed, amount of notes taken, time spent at the desk. But learning is harder to see. Learning shows up when you solve a problem, teach someone else, apply knowledge in real life, or maybe think differently and make better decisions. On the other hand, many students believe that if I studied hard, I must have learned. But that is not always true. A person can memorize facts for an exam and forget them a week later. That studying is without lasting learning. On the other hand, a child who learns to speak a language often does so with very little formal studying. Yet tremendous learning occurs. This shows that studying and learning are related, but they are not identical. The real goal. The real goal of education is not studying. The goal is learning. Studying is a tool. Learning is the destination. The question should not be how many hours did I study. Instead, ask what did I learn? What can I explain? What can I remember? What can I apply? What can I create? If studying is not producing learning, then the method needs to be improved. The purpose of studying is not to fulfill your notebook. The purpose is to transform your mind. So here's the big idea. Studying is what you do, learning is what happens as a result. Studying is the journey, learning is the transformation. The world is full of people who study a lot, but people who truly grow are those who focus on learning. The next time you sit down with a book, don't ask, how long should I study? Ask, what kind of a learning do I want to create? The question may change your entire relationship with education.